today's video, we're going to be looking at the brand new lineman glove from Cutters, the Cutters Force 6.0, and it's coming after one of my almost favorite gloves of all time, the 5.0s here. How well will the new one stack up to its little brother? Let's find out. All right, first up, let's just jump into the unboxing and walk through some details. All right, today we got 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of gloves we're going to be looking at. Now, these are the brand new gloves from Cutters this year. These are going to be the Cutters Force 6.0 Max Protection. So the big thing that you'll see with these this year versus in previous years is previous years, you basically just had like a black one and a white one. But this year, we also have a team colorway in the blue, and then the red. We'll open all 4 really quick here and check them out. So first off, let's just get all of them out of the packaging. Now, one thing Cutters changed last year was going to be that the black ones used to have like the C was white this year, but they kept it with this all black, all white look. Now, let's start by taking a look at one of the cards here on this glove, which I already took off for some testing. All right, so we're just going to start by taking a look at the card here. It's actually almost the exact same card as the 5.0s. So on the back, it just says Cutters Force 6.0 lineman gloves. We have the C-Tac grip on the palms, compressed foam padding all the way around, padded C-Tac palm patches, and double wrist strap. C-Tac grip, all weather, RevTac recharge, all weather, machine washable. And that's one of the big things with Cutters is their gloves are machine washable versus a lot of companies advertise that you are not supposed to machine wash their gloves. Now to start, I'm just gonna show you guys the black and white really quick, just so you guys have an idea. So this is gonna be the all white pair here, super clean, all white, the entire thing. Very similar for the all black. It's already what you know and love. Gonna be an all black version here. Again, black on the inside, pretty simple. But let's take a look at a blue or the red pair here. So these are the 2 new team colorways this year. We have the blue pair and we have the red pair. Take a look at the blues on here. So the big thing that they did by incorporating this team colorway was going to be that they use it as the main block, and then they put it on the inside as well with the C-Tac grip on the palm padding, and the finger C-Tac as well. So taking a tour around these gloves, we have the double wrist strap on the bottom here. This is the same as last year. I really love this thing. This wraps all the way around your wrist twice. After we do the full tour, I'll actually grab that 5.0 over there and compare them side by side so you can see. On the thumb, we have 1, 2, 3 big pads on the thumb there. One that kind of goes across the back of hand. On the back of hand, we have 1, 2, 3 goes across the knuckles here with a bunch of perforations in it to help give it a little bit of breathability. Little Force 6.0 there. We have the Cutter C, which is integrated in this rubber-like material. Knuckles on the back of hand. On each finger, you're gonna get 2 pads, and then on the top, you're gonna get a little overlay with a little bit of breathability in there with these little perforations. On the inside of glove, this is one of the reasons I really like these gloves. So on the fingertips, you have a full sewn-in C-Tac grip to help give you that grip on the ball. Then they added this kind of overlay on top of the pad here, so this gives you a little more grip as well. They do have their felt underneath that, which is like a really nice soft material. On the palm pad here, we have 1, 2, 3 different pads that are segmented, still give you that protection on the palm, but a little more dexterity on that thumb. And on the thumb, you just the standard thumb, but it has 1 pad right there. So that's gonna be the full tour of these gloves. Now I wanna show you guys everything they changed from the 5.0s to these ones. And for that, I'll grab the red pair. All right, so the all black is the 5.0 and the red is gonna be the 6.0 here. So the first difference you'll see is at the very bottom of the glove. They made a small change to the cuff. So on before it said Cutters here, and it was kind of like this squared off kind of half oval type shape. They changed it this year to be this. As far as the print, they went with like a rubber with the Cutters and the logo and the team colorway to match. And this one was just like generic Cutters here. So a little bit difference there, but the material, the neoprene, the double wrap is still the same outside of that. Now the first big change you're gonna see, which I talk about more later, is gonna be the padding here. So on the back of hand here, we have these 3 pads that are in like this thick foam material. And on this one, they changed it to just 2 pads here. So slightly different design style. As far as the pad goes, they're gonna be about the exact same thickness when I'm feeling them. And they have really similar amount of perforations as well. Now the material surrounding it is different. So on the 6.0s, it's more of like a fabric over the back of hand. But here it looks more like a sewn in kind of fake leather on the back that is kind of sewn in to be a part of. So a little bit different material choice there as well. Next change is gonna be on the thumb. So on the thumb, we have 3 pads here with then this kind of same kind of overlay over the back of hand here with those perforations. So again, they still chose to do like a 1-piece material, but the material on this is more like the material of the D-Tac. This one feels more like a soft leather, where this one is definitely a lot more rigid than this one. And you can see they changed the style of the pads from kind of that to that. So that's gonna be the big difference there. And you can even see when I'm feeling it. This one, a lot of dexterity, a lot of movement. This thumb, very, very stiff, feeling like kind of one kind of piece on here. Next up, we're gonna look at the knuckles. So like I said on this, they went back to this kind of one knuckle pad here. And on this version, they actually had 2. So in the 4.0, they had the 1, and then the 5.0, they went to 2, and now in the 6.0, they're going back to 1 again. So in here, they kind of had 2 pads on the knuckles with that same kind of rubber cutters overlay. On the back of the knuckles here, we have the 2 pads, but on the 5.0s, we had 2 pads that were slightly smaller, slightly thinner, and they also had this little bit of the C-Tac overlay, maybe just for a little bit of durability. And then we get into that fabric here, and this fabric on the back of hand here now is going to be more consistent with like the fabric that's on the entire back of hand with this. Last year, this was the first year they added in these overlays on the fingers. Same overlays year over year, just a slightly different design. These ones have like a little bit more of like a peak to them. These ones kind of round off a little more. Inside of the glove, same fingers on both sides, except on the overlay on the back here, you can see how far it goes down to around there. This year, they made it go down slightly lower, so you can see the gap between that and the palm pad. There's gonna be more grip on this one versus last year. And on this one, they had the palm pad that was kind of in 2 segments here, but still technically 1 piece. Now they've broken out into 3 completely different segments. And you can also see on the thumb, there is no C-Tac here versus last year. They did have a strip of C-Tac on the thumb there. So those are gonna be the big difference, which is between the 5.0 and the 6.0. Now let's jump into the full review. Today's video is brought to you by Drymax. Now, if you're familiar with our channel, you've seen Drymax on a ton of guys across the NFL, including CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Ramsey, Justin Herbert, and Jamar Chase. But honestly, we could be here for a really long time if we went through every guy in the NFL that wears Drymax chin savers or their socks. And we actually have videos explaining how the technology works in the Drymax socks and the Drymax chin savers you can check out too. Essentially, Drymax is a company that specializes in moisture transfer and antimicrobial products. They sell the chin saver, which comes in the tube and the easy on and off version with that strip of Velcro. And they sell tons of different sock styles worn by different guys across the league. Here's how it works. The super hydrophobic Drymax fiber layer that rests against your chin is also infused with coupon copper. That copper releases millions of ions, which helps improve your skin's health and appearance. Worn regularly next to your skin, the coupon copper has been proven to improve your skin's elasticity, softness, appearance, tone, and texture. The most important part for me though is the hydrophobic fibers, which pulls all the moisture away from your skin, keeping you dry. This is why the socks are so popular in the league, keeping your feet dry and odor-free. Now, if you want to learn more about Drymax socks and their chin saver covers, visit all the links down below where we have links to both of our videos we put out and their website. Again, thanks to Drymax for sponsoring this video. Back to it. All right, so now let's actually talk about all the things that I like and don't like about these gloves. So to start out, let's take a look at the fit and comfort. Now for the video, because I love the Cutters Force 5.0 so much, I'm gonna keep the 5.0 on this hand and wear the new 6.0 on this hand and show you side by side. So when we're talking about fit and comfort to start, unfortunately from this one to this one, I actually think they took a little bit of a step back. Now, if you watch my video from the 4.0 to the 5.0, one of the things I loved about the 5.0 is they added more padding than the 4.0 had, but somehow made it more kind of breathable and flexible at the same time. And it just didn't really make sense. But it feels like now with this one, they actually took a little bit of a step back as far as how much you can kind of move around and how these things kind of mold to your hand. Now, when you actually look at all 3 models in a row, like I said, the 4.0 had major differences from the 5.0. However, the 6.0 feels a lot closer to the 4.0. And one of the major differences they changed was the segmentation on the padding. So if you're looking at the back of hand here, there's way less segmentations on here than the 5.0s. And because of that, your hand just doesn't have the same amount of mobility as those. The 2 biggest differences are going to be in the knuckles here. It just feels a lot more stiff in the knuckles now on the back of hand because they've kind of condensed the amount of pads to just 3 versus 7 on there. So 7 pads versus 3 on the new one, which means they're just going to be completely different when you're trying to close your hands. The 5.0 is a lot easier. The other big change for me is going to be the thumb. So the thumbs on the 5.0 is a bunch of dexterity versus this one, they've kind of changed the design and the thumb overall feels more like one stiff piece now. Versus this one, it was just so easy to move your thumb. Now, which is good and bad, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Either way, yeah, from like a comfort and a fit perspective, the 5.0s are just better than the 6.0. All right, next let's talk about breathability. These things are pretty much the same. They have the same amount of perforations on the back of hand. They're using relatively same materials with like the palm pad on the inside and the felt material. As far as breathability goes, your hands are gonna get hot in both these gloves, and that's just par for the course when you're looking at lineman gloves, so expect that with any lineman glove you buy. All right, next up, we are gonna be looking at protection, and that's one of the places that the 6.0 has an upgrade over the 5.0. I love the 5.0 because they made the padding a little bit smaller, but just made the glove so much better on your hand. Well, clearly they got feedback that they made the pads a little too small, and they've reverted them back in some ways. So on the 5.0, the pads on the back of hand were all kind of like this more dense foam, versus on the fingertips, it was kind of like a little bit thinner and a little more dexterity, but they've they've changed that on the 6.0 to be more like the Nike D-Tac, where it's kind of like a molded pad and it's the same style of thicker pad on the entire back of hand here. So overall, on the back of your hand here, when you're looking at the thickness of the pads on the fingers, when you're looking at the knuckles, you're looking at the overall coverage of pads on the 6.0, it definitely has more padding than the 5.0. So if you're someone that plays on like a tackle position or something, that is going to be a plus for you. The other place we can talk about padding really quick is going to be on the palm. So on the palm pad of the 5.0s, it was this one big palm pad. However, on this one, they kind of made it into 3 different ones. And as far as when you're taking on impacts go, it's just a small section here that's going to be more exposed than the other one. The chances of you getting hit directly in this is a lot lower, but the amount more dexterity kind of gives this glove on the bottom, probably worth it. Next up is going to be grip, and this one really confuses me, I'm not gonna lie. So the big thing with the glove last year was it was the first time for the Cutters Force line that I could recommend it for center, and that's because they made 2 massive changes. The first one is going to be the dexterity, which we already talked about, which made it just so much easier with these gloves to grab a football. You could grab a hold of it, you could wrap your hands around it really nice, versus other ones were just stiff and a little harder to grab a ball. The other big change they made though was adding the C-Tac grip onto the inside here. So this kind of subtle woven C-Tac grip there, and that little bit of grip on the thumb especially made it really easy to hold onto this football here, and I love these gloves for that. The other thing with me too is I have small hands, so having a bunch of grip on that thumb is like essential for me to be able to grab the football. So this year is where I feel like they kind of took a step back, but then took some other steps forward in a way that just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. So they took the grip on here and they extended it further down, which would make you think they're trying to make this glove a little better for center. Same goes with that palm pad there. They kind of changed the dexterity of it and gave you a little more movement to make you think they're extending the grip on this. Again, trying to make it more grippy. However, one of the big changes they made that makes it harder to recommend this is going to be they removed that bit of C-Tac grip to the side of the thumb there, and that was essential for me to be able to grab the football. That combined with now the thumb is harder to kind of move. I'm finding it with this glove, it's just overall harder for me to kind of grab this football and wrap my hand around and keep it secure, just because this thumb overall just feels worse than it did in the past. Removing this little strip of grip there, although it might not seem significant for someone like me, made a big deal. And also the amount of movement in this thumb versus this one, it just made a really big difference for grip. So it does have some grip. It's still doable, especially if you have big hands. But for me, it's just harder to recommend this for center now because of those 2 changes. All right, next up is going to be durability. Now, I actually think this glove is going to be more durable than last year's glove for a couple different reasons. One, extending the overlay on here kind of gives this a little more durability because this felt has been known to rip in the past. So having less of this felt exposed and more overlay over top of it, it's going to help the durability on the inside. And on the back of hand, they have switched up the materials to be generally thicker and more high quality materials on the back here than existed on this. This was kind of like a different kind of fabric here that was a little bit more open in its structure, and this kind of leather material was a little thinner. The material they replaced it with on the thumb is clearly more durable, and the overall fabric on the back of the hand is also thicker and more durable looking as well. So overall, I do think this year's is going to be more durable than last year's. All right, next up, let's talk about style. Overall, I love these gloves. I loved how last year they made it to all black and the all white, and they got rid of the mismatching kind of Cutters C on there. So I love what they did with the black and white, and they just built on that this year by adding in a red colorway and then also the blue colorway to the lineup. Now, they're like the only lineman gloves on the market besides the Nike D-Tac doing the team colorways. So the fact that you can get a lineman glove and you at least have 4 different options now, and they also look good in those, the way they kind of made the thumb black on here and the rest of the team color. I think they look great. I like the color options. I'm super happy with that. All right, so next up, let's talk about price. Now, when you're looking at that, there's a couple competitors on the market you could look to for price. We have the Nike D-Tac, we have Adidas glove, we have the Under Armour Combats, and we have the Grip Boost as well, all around that $60 to $70 price range. And these come right in the middle of that. These are $65, which is kind of par for the course for a lineman glove. Now, one of the reasons I'm actually really happy with that $65 price point was because the 5.0s were also $65. However, if you're looking, this is one of the only other gloves on the market that has team colorways. And the only other one that does is the Nike D-Tac, which is $70. So I actually thought when Cutters added the team colorways this year, they were going to take that opportunity to increase the price from $65 to $70. However, they didn't do that. They kept it at the same price with more colorways, which I absolutely love that they made that decision. It shows they're a good company, and I'm really happy that they kept it at that $65. So for a lineman glove, $65 is how much you're going to pay. That's just the way it is. All right, last thing we're going to look at is positions. And these are a great lineman glove. They have tons of protection. They have tons of durability, all the things you want, which means I can recommend them for every position on the line except center. The caveat is I am a center that has small hands, which means these gloves here, I just wouldn't trust. It was a really big deal that I had to trust the glove I was wearing in 100% confidence to make sure I could snap it. It's just a mental thing with me. So because it doesn't have this grip on here and the change to the thumb making it slightly less dexterity, I can't recommend this for center the same way I could for the 5.0s. However, every other position in the line, still happy to do it. All right, there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Comment down below if you think this was enough for you to upgrade from the 5.0s to the 6.0s. Love to hear your opinions. Again, I'll see you soon.